Hey guys, imagine waking up at 4 in the morning, grabbing a wooden broom that weighs about as much as a toddler, and heading out into streets ankle-deep in horse droppings mixed with old cabbage. That's your life as a Victorian street sweeper. Your job is to clear paths through mountains of manure, rotting vegetables and mystery sludge before the morning rush begins, all while dodging carriages that couldn't care less if they flatten you into the pavement. Your hands blister within an hour, your back screams for mercy by sunrise, and your clothes absorb so much stench that even stray dogs avoid you. If you think your morning commute is rough, try spending 12 hours bent over in freezing rain, scraping up things that make you gag, all for wages that barely buy you bread and a corner to sleep in. If you're enjoying this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more historical reality checks. I'm genuinely curious to know where you're all watching from, so tell me in the comments what city you're in and what time it is right now. So let's step into the filthy world of a Victorian street sweeper and find out exactly why you wouldn't last a single shift. Your day starts before the sun even considers making an appearance. We're talking 4 in the morning, when it's so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face. There's no alarm clock to gently wake you, no snooze button. You just jolt awake because your body has learned that if you're late, you don't eat. Simple as that. You're sleeping in a room that you share with about 6 other people, all crammed into a space the size of a modern bathroom. The air is thick and musty, like opening a cupboard that hasn't been aired out in 5 years. Someone snoring sounds like a broken accordion. Another person's feet smell so intense that you can taste it in the back of your throat. You stumble out of your shared straw mattress, which is basically a sack filled with hay that's gone flat and damp from months of use. It crunches under you like walking on dead leaves, and it's full of things that bite you in the night. Your whole body aches from yesterday's work, and you haven't even started today's shift yet. You splash some water on your face from a bucket that's been sitting out all night. It's absolutely freezing. The cold hits your skin like a slap, and your teeth start chattering immediately. There's no time for a proper wash, no hot shower, no soap that smells like tropical fruits. You're lucky if the water isn't slightly green. You pull on the same clothes you wore yesterday because you only own one set of work clothes. The fabric is stiff with dried sweat and other substances you'd rather not think about. The shirt used to be white about 3 years ago. Now it's a colour that doesn't have a name, somewhere between grey and brown with interesting stains that tell the story of every disgusting thing you've encountered. Your trousers are held up with string because the actual button fell off last winter. Your boots have holes in them. Not charming little holes. Big gaps where your toes poke through and get wet the moment you step in anything, which happens constantly. You grab your broom and head out into the street. The moment you open the door, the stench hits you like a wall. Victorian London doesn't smell like those scented candles people buy. It smells like every horse in the city has decided to use your particular street as a toilet. Because they have. Horses are everywhere in Victorian times. They pull carriages, delivery wagons, buses. Every single one of them produces roughly 15 kilograms of droppings every single day. Do the maths on that for a city with thousands of horses. The streets are literally carpeted in the stuff. Fresh piles steam in the cold morning air. Older piles have been mashed into a kind of paste by carriage wheels and foot traffic. When it rains, it turns into a slippery brown soup that splashes up your legs with every step. When it's dry, it turns to dust that you breathe in with every breath. Your lungs are basically filtering horse business all day long. Your job is to clear a path through all this before the morning traffic starts. You've been assigned 3 streets to keep clean. Clean is a generous word. What you're actually doing is pushing the worst of the mess to the sides so that fancy people can walk down the middle without ruining their expensive shoes. You start sweeping, and immediately your hands start to hurt. The broom handle is rough wood that gives you splinters if you're not careful. You've wrapped some old cloth around the grip, but it's worn thin. Your palms already have calluses on top of calluses, thick patches of hardened skin that crack and sting when you move your fingers. Within 10 minutes, your shoulders are burning, the broom is heavy, and you're not just lightly brushing. You're scraping, pushing, heaving piles of muck that weigh more than you'd think. It's like doing a workout at the gym, except the gym smells like a stable, and you're doing it for 12 hours straight. The cold is unbelievable. It's October, and winter is coming in fast. Your breath makes clouds in the air. Your fingers go numb inside your thin gloves, which have more holes than fabric at this point. You can't feel the broom handle properly, which means you grip it too hard, which makes your hands hurt more. Your toes are already wet from stepping in a puddle that you really hope was just water, but probably wasn't. Wet feet in Victorian times means your entire day is miserable. There's no popping home to change socks. You're going to squelch with every step until you finish work tonight. The dampness seeps through to your skin, making everything feel clammy and cold. Your feet start to ache from the chill. Then they go a bit numb. Then they start to hurt again in a different way, a deep ache in your bones that makes you want to sit down and never get up. You're pushing a particularly stubborn pile of muck when a carriage rattles past, way too close. The wheels spray up a wave of street sludge that catches you right across the chest. It's cold, it's wet, and it absolutely reeks. The driver doesn't even slow down, doesn't apologize. You're invisible to them, just part of the street furniture. The splash soaks through your shirt instantly. Now you're not just cold, you're cold and wet and covered in a layer of filth that's going to dry into a crusty coating by midday. You can feel it trickling down your stomach inside your clothes. It's the kind of sensation that makes your whole body clench up in disgust, but there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go home and change. You can't even really wipe it off because your hands are filthy too. You just have to stand there dripping and get back to work. The sun finally starts to come up around 6. You'd think this would make things better, but it just means you can now see exactly what you're dealing with. In the dark, you could pretend that pile was just mud. In the daylight, there's no pretending. You can see every detail. The texture, the colour variations, the bits that definitely used to be food before someone threw them out a window. Victorians don't have rubbish collection like we do. They just chuck everything into the street. Rotten vegetables, meat gone bad, broken pottery, dead rats, the contents of chamber pots from upstairs windows. All of it lands in the street, and all of it becomes your problem. You're sweeping up things that make you gag. Your stomach lurches every few minutes. You learn to breathe through your mouth, but then you can taste the air, which is somehow worse. By 8 in the morning, you're already exhausted, and you're not even a third of the way through your shift. The streets are getting busy now. Carriages rattle past constantly, their iron wheels clanging on the cobblestones so loud that your ears ring. Horses whinny and snort. Drivers yell at each other. Shop owners shout their wares. The noise is relentless, a constant battering that makes your head throb. There's no escape from it, no quiet corner to take a break. You're right in the middle of the chaos, trying to sweep while dodging traffic and pedestrians who act like you're not even there. Someone bumps into you hard enough to make you stumble. They don't apologize. They just tut like you're the one in the way. You steady yourself and keep sweeping because what else can you do? The traffic means fresh deposits every few minutes. A horse trots past and leaves a steaming pile right in the spot you just cleared. You want to scream, you want to throw your broom down and walk away. But you just sigh and sweep it up again because that's the job. It never ends. You clear one section, and by the time you've moved down the street, the first section needs doing again. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a bucket. Completely pointless. But you have to do it anyway because otherwise you don't get paid. Your wages are barely enough to keep you fed. You make about 12 shillings a week if you're lucky. That's enough for a room in a boarding house, some bread, maybe a bit of cheese if you're careful. Meat is a rare luxury. A hot meal is something you dream about. Your stomach is growling by 9. You haven't eaten since yesterday evening, and that was just a chunk of stale bread and some watery soup. You're burning energy like crazy, sweeping and lifting and bending all morning, and there's nothing going in to replace it. The hunger sits in your belly like a weight, making you feel weak and shaky. Your hands start to tremble a bit. Your head feels light. But breakfast isn't until noon, and even then it's just whatever you can afford from a street vendor. Usually more bread, maybe an apple if you're feeling extravagant. The fancy people walking past are heading to tea rooms and restaurants, and you can smell fresh pastries baking somewhere nearby. The scent drifts over the stench of the street for just a moment, sweet and buttery, and it makes your mouth water so much it actually hurts. Then a carriage rolls through a fresh pile, and the smell of pastries is gone, replaced by the now familiar reek that coats everything. Your feet are in agony. Those boots with holes aren't just letting in moisture. The soles are worn so thin that you can feel every cobblestone through them. Walking on cobblestones all day is like walking on a bumpy massage mat, except it's not relaxing at all. It's just painful. The uneven surface makes your ankles twist slightly with every step. Your arches ache. Your heels are developing blisters where the rough boot leather rubs against them. Each step sends a little jolt of pain up your legs. By midday, you'll be limping. By evening, you'll barely be able to walk. But you can't sit down. There's nowhere to sit. And even if there was, sitting means not working, which means getting yelled at by your supervisor who comes around checking that you're doing your job properly. The supervisor is a man who seems to exist purely to make your life worse. He rides around on a little pony, staying well above the muck, and shouts at street sweepers for not working hard enough. He's got a voice like an angry goose, high and nasal and carrying across the whole street so everyone can hear when he's telling you off. He doesn't care that you've been working for 5 hours straight. He doesn't care that your back is screaming and your hands are raw. He just wants the streets clear, and he wants them clear faster than is physically possible. He rides up while you're mid-sweep, looks at the street with disgust like you've personally placed every piece of filth there yourself, and asks why this section isn't finished yet. You want to point out that horses keep adding to it. You want to explain that you're one person with a broom trying to clean 3 entire streets, but you just nod and say you'll work harder, because talking back means getting fired, and getting fired means starving. Around 10 o'clock, something happens that makes you question every choice you've ever made. A window opens on the 3rd floor of a building, and someone empties their chamber pot directly into the street. They're supposed to shout a warning first. They don't. You hear the window creak open, you look up, and you've got just enough time to register what's about to happen before a cascade of liquid waste comes pouring down. You try to dodge, but you're not fast enough. It catches your shoulder and splashes up the side of your face. The smell is indescribable. It's sharp and acrid and makes your eyes water instantly. It's warm, which makes it so much worse. You stand there in absolute shock, dripping, while the person above closes the window without a word. No apology, no acknowledgement that they've just drenched a human being. You're not a person to them. You're just part of the street, something that exists to receive their waste. You've got nothing to clean yourself with. No towels, no clean water nearby. You use your sleeve to wipe your face, but your sleeve is already filthy, so you're just smearing grime around. The liquid has soaked into your shirt collar. You can feel it against your skin, damp and disgusting. The smell is right under your nose now, impossible to escape. You're going to smell like this for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week probably, because washing clothes is a major production that requires time and resources you don't have. You feel your throat tighten. For a moment, you think you might actually be sick, but you swallow hard, take a few breaths through your mouth, and get back to sweeping because what else is there to do? Crying doesn't clean the streets. Complaining doesn't pay rent. The morning drags on like it's been going for 3 days instead of 6 hours. Your whole body is one big ache. Your shoulders burn. Your back throbs. Your hands have gone past pain into a kind of numb tingling that's probably not good. Your feet feel like they're being stabbed with every step. Your stomach won't stop growling. You're cold and wet and covered in substances that don't bear thinking about. And you're only halfway to your lunch break. You've still got hours to go before you can stop. And even then it's just a 30-minute break before you start again. The afternoon shift is always worse than the morning because you're already exhausted. Your body doesn't get a chance to recover. You just push through on sheer stubbornness and the knowledge that stopping means not eating. Noon finally arrives, and you get your break. 30 minutes to grab something to eat and sit down before getting back to it. You lean your broom against a wall, feeling your shoulders protest as you straighten up for the first time in hours. Your spine makes an alarming cracking sound as you stretch. Your back feels like it's been twisted into a knot that'll never come undone. You've got just enough coins in your pocket for a meat pie from a street vendor, and you make your way over on feet that feel like blocks of wood. The vendor is set up on the corner, selling pies from a cart that's seen better days. The pies sit under a cloth that's supposed to keep them clean, but is itself covered in stains and suspicious marks. You hand over your coins and receive a pie that's warm to the touch. That's the best thing you can say about it. The pastry is grey and greasy, leaving an oily sheen on your fingers. You bite into it and immediately regret every decision that led to this moment. The filling is supposedly beef, but it tastes like it might be anything. The texture is grainy and odd. There are lumps that squish in your mouth in ways that meat shouldn't squish. The gravy is more fat than flavour, coating your tongue with a thick film that makes you want to scrape it off with your teeth. But you're so hungry that you eat it anyway, forcing down each bite because you need the energy, and this is all you can afford. The pie sits heavy in your stomach afterwards, like you've swallowed a rock. You can feel it sitting there, not quite digesting, just existing as a cold lump that makes you slightly queasy. You find a step to sit on for the remaining 20 minutes of your break. The moment you sit down, every muscle in your body seems to sigh with relief. Then they all start screaming at once. Sitting makes you realize exactly how much everything hurts. Your thighs are trembling from hours of standing and walking. Your calves are tight as bowstrings. Your feet are throbbing in your boots. You want to take the boots off and give your feet some air, but you know from experience that if you do, you'll never get them back on again. Your feet will swell up the moment they're free, and squashing them back into the boots will be torture. So you keep them on and just sit there, feeling every blister and every sore spot pressing against the worn leather. Other street sweepers are taking their breaks nearby. Nobody talks much. Everyone's too tired. You all just sit in silence, chewing your terrible food, staring at nothing. One man is so exhausted he's actually fallen asleep sitting up, his head nodding forward onto his chest. His pie has fallen onto the ground beside him, and a dog is cautiously approaching it. Nobody warns him. The dog deserves that pie more than any of you do. Another sweeper is examining his hands, looking at the raw patches where blisters have formed and popped and formed again. His palms are a mess of rough skin and fresh sores. He prods one gingerly, winces, then just shrugs and wraps a bit of rag around it. That's Victorian medical care right there. Wrap it in cloth and hope for the best. The break ends too soon. It always does. You haul yourself back to your feet and your body protests violently. Your knees crack, your back twinges. For a moment you feel dizzy, black spots dancing in your vision because you stood up too fast and you're tired and underfed and your body is running on fumes. You steady yourself against the wall, wait for the dizziness to pass, then pick up your broom and get back to work. The afternoon shift is starting, and somehow the streets look worse than they did this morning. It's like the city has vomited up fresh filth just to spite you. The afternoon brings new challenges. The sun has come out properly now, which sounds nice until you realise what it does to the streets. All that moisture from the morning starts to evaporate. Steam rises from the various piles and puddles, carrying with it a concentrated version of every bad smell you can imagine. The reek intensifies in the warmth. It hangs in the air like a fog. Every breath is a punishment. Your eyes water constantly. The back of your throat tastes like you've been licking the street. You try to breathe shallowly, little sips of air, but it doesn't help. The stench gets in anyway. It's on your clothes, in your hair, coating your skin. You'll smell like this when you go home, when you sleep, when you wake up tomorrow and do it all again. The sun also means you're now hot as well as exhausted. The cold morning seems like a distant memory. Now you're sweating through your already filthy shirt. Drops of perspiration run down your back, making your skin itch under the layers of grime. Your face is slick with it. Salt stings your eyes. Your hair is plastered to your forehead. The moisture mixes with all the street muck that's already coating you, creating a paste that dries in the creases of your elbows and neck. You feel crusty and damp at the same time, which shouldn't be possible, but here you are. You'd give anything for a bath, a real bath with hot water and soap. You'd sit in it for hours, but baths cost money and require facilities you don't have access to. The boarding house you live in has one bath for 30 people, and there's a rota, and it's not your day until next week. Around 3 in the afternoon, your supervisor makes another appearance. He's in a foul mood, which he takes out on everyone he encounters. He rides up on his pony, looks at your section of street with exaggerated disappointment, and launches into a tirade about laziness and poor work ethic. His face goes red as he shouts. Spit flies from his mouth. He's close enough that you can smell his lunch, which was significantly better than yours. Roasted meat and fresh bread, if your nose is right. The unfairness of it burns in your chest. He's shouting at you for not working hard enough while he sits on a pony, well fed and clean, having done nothing all day but ride around criticizing people who are working themselves into early graves. But you just stand there and take it, because that's all you can do. You nod. You apologize. You promise to work harder. He rides off, satisfied that he's done his job of making everyone miserable. The moment he's gone, you lean on your broom for just a second, closing your eyes. You're so tired you could sleep standing up. Your whole body is begging for rest. Your muscles are shaking with fatigue. But there's still hours of work left. The street isn't going to sweep itself. You force your eyes back open, adjust your grip on the broom despite the pain in your hands, and get back to it. One more sweep, one more pile, one more section of street. You break the afternoon down into tiny goals, because thinking about the hours still ahead is too overwhelming. Just get to that lamppost, just clear that corner, just make it to 4 o'clock, then 5, then 6, then finally, please, the end of the shift. Your technique has degraded significantly since this morning. You're no longer sweeping properly. You're just sort of shoving the broom around, using whatever strength you have left. Your movements are sloppy and inefficient. You're missing spots. You're not pushing the muck as far to the side as you should. You don't care anymore. You can't care. You're running on empty, and it's taking everything you have just to keep moving. Your brain has gone foggy with exhaustion. You're not really thinking anymore. You're just existing, moving through the motions automatically, like a machine that's slowly breaking down. By 5 o'clock, your hands are no longer just sore. They've progressed to genuine agony. The blisters from this morning have definitely popped, leaving raw patches that the rough wood grinds against with every sweep. The cloth wrapping has worn through in places. You can feel moisture on your palms, probably a mix of sweat and fluid from the broken blisters, making your grip slippery. Every time you adjust your hold on the broom, pain shoots through your hands sharp enough to make you gasp. Your fingers have locked into a claw shape from gripping the handle for 13 hours. When you try to straighten them during a brief pause, they barely move. The joints are stiff and swollen. Your knuckles look twice their normal size, red and puffy like sausages about to burst their casings. The evening traffic is picking up. Workers are heading home from factories and offices. The streets fill with people who all seem to be in terrible moods. Everyone's tired and irritable, pushing and shoving to get where they're going. You're invisible to them, just an obstacle to navigate around. Someone kicks your pile as they hurry past, scattering the muck you've just spent 10 minutes collecting. They don't even notice. They're already gone, lost in the crowd, while you stare at your destroyed work with an exhaustion too deep for words. You don't have the energy to be angry. You just start sweeping it back together again, moving like a broken automaton. Your back has reached a level of pain that you didn't know existed. It's not just aching anymore. It's a hot, fierce agony that radiates from your lower spine, up through your shoulders. Every sweep sends a jolt through your back. Every time you bend, something grinds in your spine that definitely shouldn't grind. You can't straighten up fully anymore. You're stuck in a permanent hunch, curved over your broom like an old man twice your age. When you try to stretch, your muscles spasm and lock up, freezing you in place until the cramp passes. You're genuinely worried that you've damaged something permanently, that one day soon your back will just give out completely and you'll be done, unable to work, unable to earn, just another broken person discarded by the city. The light is starting to fade now. Gas lamps are being lit along the streets, their yellow glow casting everything in a sickly colour. Lamplighters move along with their poles, reaching up to each lamp, and you watch them with envy. Their job looks almost peaceful compared to yours. They walk at a steady pace, light a lamp, move on. No bending, no scraping, no being drenched in street waste. You'd give anything to swap places. But you're stuck here until 8 o'clock, when your shift officially ends and you can finally, mercifully, stop moving. Around 6, you encounter a blocked drain. This is a special kind of nightmare. The drain is supposed to carry away rainwater and other fluids, but it's clogged with debris, leaves, mud, bits of food, things you don't want to identify. The blockage has created a large puddle that spreads across half the street. The puddle is dark and opaque, hiding its depth. Could be an inch, could be a foot. There's no way to know without stepping in it or sticking something in to measure. This is technically your job to clear. You're supposed to unclog the drain so the puddle drains away. The thought makes you want to cry. You have no tools for this except your hands. There's no drain rod, no gloves, nothing between you and whatever's blocking that drain except your own skin. You stand there looking at it for a long moment, building up the will to do what needs to be done. Then you kneel down beside the drain, feeling your knees immediately soak through with cold wetness from the puddle and reach in. The sensation is unspeakable. Your fingers sink into cold, slimy muck. The texture is wrong in every possible way. Slippery and thick and full of solid objects that shift under your touch. You grab a handful of the blockage and pull. It comes away with a sucking sound that makes your stomach lurch. The smell that releases is powerful enough to make you gag. You turn your head away, fighting not to retch, then reach in again because it's not clear yet. It takes several handfuls before the drain starts flowing again. Each time you reach in is worse than the last because now you know what it feels like. The coldness, the sliminess, the way things squish between your fingers, the mystery objects that could be anything. You pull out what looks like a dead rat at one point, its fur matted and falling off. You fling it aside with a noise of pure disgust. Finally, water starts gurgling down the drain. The puddle slowly recedes. Your job is done. You stand up, your knees creaking, and look at your hands. They're coated in black slime up to your wrists. It's under your fingernails, between your fingers. The smell coming off your hands is phenomenal. You wipe them on your trousers because there's nothing else to wipe them on, but it doesn't help much. The slime just smears around. You're going to smell like drain for days. Your knees are now soaked and cold from kneeling in the puddle. The dampness seeps through to your skin, adding another layer of misery to your already sodden clothes. Your trousers stick to your legs, chafing with every step. The wet fabric rubs against your skin, creating friction that's going to leave you raw and sore. But you've got 2 more hours to go, so you just grit your teeth and keep moving, 1 foot in front of the other. Keep sweeping, keep clearing. Don't think about how much it hurts. Don't think about how tired you are. Just keep going. 7 o'clock arrives and you're running on pure survival instinct. Your brain has shut down. You're not conscious of thinking anymore. You're just a body moving through space, performing actions by rote. Sweep, push, step, sweep, push, step. It's automatic, mindless. If someone asked you what you were doing, you're not sure you could answer. The exhaustion has gone beyond physical. It's existential. You're tired in your soul. Every cell in your body is screaming for rest. Your vision has gone a bit blurry around the edges. Sounds seem to come from far away. You're moving through the world like you're underwater. Everything's slow and muffled and strange. You nearly get hit by a carriage. It comes around the corner fast, the driver not paying attention, and you don't notice until the horse is nearly on top of you. Someone yells. You look up. The horse rears, hooves flashing in the lamplight. You throw yourself backwards, landing hard on the cobblestones, and the carriage wheels miss you by inches. You lie there for a moment, stunned, feeling the impact of the fall radiate through your already abused body. New bruises bloom immediately. Your hip took the worst of it. You're going to have a bruise the size of a dinner plate there by tomorrow. The driver shouts something at you, probably cursing you for being in the way, and rattles on without checking if you're hurt. 8 o'clock, finally, mercifully arrives. The church bells ring out across the city and the sound is the most beautiful thing you've heard all day. Your shift is over. You can stop. You lean on your broom for a moment, eyes closed, just breathing. You're too tired to feel relief. Too exhausted to feel anything except a bone-deep weariness that makes your whole body sag. You've been working for 16 hours. 16 hours of bending, scraping, pushing, lifting. Your body has nothing left to give. You're completely spent, running on fumes from hours ago. You start the walk back to your boarding house. It's about 20 minutes away, which might as well be 20 miles in your current state. Every step is an effort. Your feet are screaming inside your boots. The blisters have blisters at this point. Your toes squelch in wetness that's been there since morning. Your legs are so tired that they're shaking. Your muscles feel like they've turned to jelly. More than once you have to stop and lean against a wall, just to gather the strength to continue. People flow past you on the street, heading to pubs or supper or home to families. They look tired from their own days, but it's normal tired, human tired, not this broken, demolished exhaustion that you're experiencing. The boarding house is a narrow building squeezed between two others, 4 stories of cramped rooms packed with workers like yourself. The front door sticks, and you have to shove it with your shoulder to get it open. The effort nearly knocks you over. Inside, the stairwell is dark and smells of cabbage and unwashed bodies and damp rot. The wallpaper is peeling in long strips. The wooden stairs are worn smooth in the middle from decades of feet. You start climbing to the 3rd floor where your room is, and it's one of the hardest things you've done all day. Your legs barely have the strength to lift you from one step to the next. You have to pull yourself up using the banister. By the 2nd floor landing, you're breathing hard, your heart pounding. By the 3rd floor, you're genuinely worried you might collapse. Your room is at the end of the hall. You push open the door to find your roommates already there. 6 people share this space that's maybe 12 feet by 12 feet. There are 3 mattresses on the floor, 2 people to each mattress. No bed frames, no proper bedding, just the straw mattresses and some threadbare blankets that don't provide nearly enough warmth. The room smells like sweat and feet, and the chamber pot that sits in the corner waiting to be emptied. One small window provides ventilation, but it's closed against the cold night air. The atmosphere is thick and stale. Nobody greets you when you come in. Everyone's in their own world of exhaustion. One man is already asleep, snoring heavily. Another is examining a cut on his foot by candlelight. A third is chewing on a piece of bread, staring at the wall with empty eyes. These are your people, fellow workers ground down by the city. You've got nothing in common except poverty and exhaustion, but there's a kind of camaraderie in shared misery. You nod to the man with the bread. He nods back. That's the extent of the social interaction. You ease yourself down onto your section of mattress, and the relief is so intense it's almost painful. Your body melts into the thin padding. Your muscles unclench slightly. Your back settles into the flatness with a series of small cracks and pops. You should probably eat something. You've got a bit of bread left from yesterday that you'd saved for supper, but you're too tired to chew, too exhausted to make your jaw work. You just lie there, still in your filthy clothes, because taking them off requires energy you don't have. The straw under you crunches and pokes through the thin fabric of the mattress. You can feel it prodding your back. You're going to wake up with marks all over your skin. Sleep should come easily given how tired you are, but your body is in too much pain to relax fully. Everything hurts. Your back throbs with a deep, relentless ache. Your hands sting and pulse with pain from the blisters and raw patches. Your feet are agony. Your shoulders are on fire. Your knees are sore from kneeling by that drain. Your hip is tender where you fell. There's not a single part of you that doesn't hurt. You shift positions, trying to find a way to lie that puts less pressure on the worst spots. It doesn't work. Every position is uncomfortable. You end up on your side, knees drawn up slightly, one arm folded under your head as a pillow because you don't have a real pillow. The room is cold. The temperature has dropped significantly since the sun went down, and there's no heating in here, no fireplace, no stove, just the collective body heat of 6 people in a small space, which doesn't amount to much. You pull the thin blanket over yourself, but it barely covers your whole body. If you cover your shoulders, your feet are exposed. If you cover your feet, your shoulders are cold. You settle for covering your torso and just accepting that your extremities will be freezing. Your breath makes small clouds in the air. Your nose is cold. Your ears are cold. You curl up tighter, trying to conserve warmth. The man sharing your mattress comes to bed about an hour later. The whole mattress shifts and bounces as he lies down, jostling you painfully. He takes more than his share of the blanket, pulling it off you in his sleep. You pull it back. He pulls it again. This silent tug of war goes on for a while before you give up and let him have most of it. You're too tired to fight. You just lie there, cold and uncomfortable, listening to the sounds of the boarding house settling for the night. Someone's coughing in the next room, a wet, rattling cough that goes on and on. Downstairs, people are arguing about something, their voices carrying through the thin walls. Further away, the city rumbles and clatters, never fully quiet. Your mind wanders in that fuzzy space between waking and sleeping. You think about the fact that you have to do this again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, 6 days a week, every week, for the foreseeable future. There's no progression in this job, no climbing the ladder. You're a street sweeper, and you'll always be a street sweeper until your body gives out and you can't do it anymore. Then what? There's no pension, no safety net. You'll just be discarded, replaced by another desperate person willing to ruin their health for coins. The thought is deeply depressing, so you push it away and try to think of nothing instead. Sleep comes eventually, but it's not restful. You're too uncomfortable, too cold, too aware of the pain in your body. You drift in and out of consciousness, never fully asleep, never fully awake. You dream of sweeping streets that never get clean, endless piles that grow faster than you can clear them, supervisors shouting, chamber pots falling, carriages bearing down. Your dreaming mind can't escape from the reality of your waking life. Even unconscious, you're still stuck in the nightmare of your existence. So you drag yourself upright, moving like you've aged 50 years overnight. Your body is stiffened up during the few hours of rest. Everything that hurt yesterday hurts worse today. Your back is locked solid. You can barely straighten up. Your hands have curled into claws that you have to forcibly uncurl, each finger protesting as you stretch it. The blisters have scabbed over in the night, and now the scabs crack open as you flex your fingers, bringing fresh, stinging pain. Your feet are so tender that putting weight on them makes you hiss through your teeth. The blisters are definitely infected. You can feel the hot, tight sensation around them. That means trouble, but there's nothing you can do about it. Doctors cost money you don't have. You splash water on your face from the same bucket as yesterday. It might actually be the same water. Nobody's bothered to refresh it. It smells stagnant and feels slimy on your skin. You pull on the same clothes because they're your only clothes. They've stiffened overnight, where the various substances dried. The fabric crackles as you move. You can smell yourself, a rich combination of sweat and street and drain that makes you grimace. This is what you smell like now. This is your existence. You grab your broom and head out into the pre-dawn darkness for another day of the exact same misery. The cold hits even harder this morning. There was a frost overnight, the first of the season. The cobblestones glitter with ice in the faint light from the street lamps. Your breath comes in white clouds. Within minutes, your hands are so cold you can't feel them. The thin gloves do nothing. The cold penetrates straight through to your bones. Your fingers turn white, then red, then an alarming purplish colour. They hurt with a fierce, burning pain that's somehow worse than when you can't feel them at all. You try tucking them under your arms between sweeps to warm them up, but it barely helps. The horse droppings have frozen solid overnight. This should make them easier to sweep, but it doesn't. The frozen chunks are heavy as rocks and just as difficult to move. They don't push, they don't sweep. You have to lever them up with the edge of your broom or kick them loose with your boot, which sends jolts of pain through your infected blisters. Each frozen lump feels like it weighs 10 pounds. Your already weakened arms shake with the effort of moving them. Your back protests violently every time you bend. You've been working for only an hour and you're already exhausted, running on no recovery from yesterday. Around 6 in the morning, something happens that would be funny if it wasn't happening to you. You're sweeping along, head down, focused on your misery, when you step on a patch of ice hidden under some scattered straw. Your foot goes out from under you. You windmill your arms, trying to catch your balance, but it's no good. You go down hard, landing on your back on the frozen cobblestones with an impact that drives all the air from your lungs. For a moment, you just lie there, stunned, staring up at the lightening sky while your body tries to remember how to breathe. When air finally whooshes back into your lungs, you take stock of the damage. Your tailbone feels like it's shattered, your spine is screaming, your elbows are bruised from trying to catch yourself. You're going to feel this fall for weeks. Worse than the pain is the fact that you landed in a pile of half-frozen muck. It's soaked through your clothes. You can feel the cold wetness spreading across your back and bottom. When you finally struggle to your feet, there's a dark stain covering your entire backside. You look like you've had an accident, a proper, humiliating accident, and you have to walk around like this all day because you can't go home to change. Several early morning pedestrians witnessed your fall. They're trying not to laugh. One man isn't trying at all. He's openly chuckling as he walks past. You want to throw your broom at his head, but that would get you fired, so you just stand there dripping and try to retain some shred of dignity. The wet patch on your clothes is freezing in the cold air. Within 10 minutes, your entire backside is encased in ice-stiffened fabric that chafes with every movement. It's like sitting in frozen armor that you can't take off. The cold seeps into your skin, making your muscles clench and spasm. Your tailbone throbs where you landed on it. Every step sends a jolt of pain through your lower back. You're limping now, adding to your collection of injuries. Yesterday's pain plus today's pain equals a level of misery that seems almost impressive in its completeness. By mid-morning, you're moving like a puppet with half its strings cut. Your body is barely responding to commands. You tell your arms to sweep and they sort of flop the broom around weakly. You tell your legs to step forward and they shuffle a few inches. Your back has given up on straightening at all. You're permanently bent like a question mark. Your hands have lost all sensation in the cold. You're gripping the broom through sheer habit because you can't actually feel it anymore. You watch your fingers from outside yourself like they belong to someone else. They're an alarming greyish-white colour. You're probably getting frostbite. That's a problem for future you to worry about. The supervisor makes his rounds around noon. He takes one look at you, at your frozen stiff clothes and your hunched posture and your grey fingers, and asks if you're going to make it through the day. There's no concern in his voice. He's not asking because he cares about your well-being. He's asking because if you collapse, he'll have to find someone to cover your streets. You assure him you're fine. Your voice comes out as a croak. Your throat is raw from breathing cold air all morning. He looks skeptical but rides on without offering any help. No suggestion that you go warm up. No offer of hot tea. Just a warning not to slack off. Then he's gone. You're hallucinating slightly by early afternoon. Not full hallucinations, just little tricks of vision from exhaustion and hunger and cold. Shadows move at the corner of your eye. The cobblestones seem to ripple like water. You hear someone call your name, but when you turn around, there's nobody there. Your brain is misfiring, struggling to keep you functional on no sleep and no food and no warmth. You haven't eaten today. You spent your last coins on that terrible pie yesterday. There's no money for lunch today. Your stomach has gone past growling into a hollow, gnawing ache that makes you feel weak and shaky. You're burning energy you don't have, running on fumes from yesterday's meagre rations. Around 3 o'clock, you're sweeping mechanically when a shop door opens and warmth spills out like a physical thing. It's a bakery. The heat from the ovens pours into the street, and the smell of fresh bread follows it. The contrast between the warm, yeasty air and the bitter cold you've been enduring makes your eyes water. You stop sweeping and just stand there for a moment, as close to the door as you dare, soaking up the warmth. It feels like heaven, like everything good in the world concentrated into one small space. The baker notices you and scowls. He makes a shooing motion. You're loitering. You're bringing down the tone. You reluctantly step back and watch as he closes the door, shutting away the warmth and the smell and leaving you in the cold again. The afternoon drags on with the quality of a nightmare. Time feels broken. You look at a clock on a church tower and it says 4. You sweep for what feels like 3 hours. You look again and it says 4:15. Minutes stretch into eternities. Your awareness narrows to the small circle of cobblestones directly in front of you. Nothing exists beyond that. Not the city, not your life, not your future. Just this small patch of frozen stone that you're trying to clear with a broom that weighs more than you remember. Everything is reduced to the most basic level. Move broom, push muck, step forward, repeat. You've become a machine that runs on suffering. A brewery wagon passes by, and one of the workers tosses you something. You nearly don't catch it. Your frozen fingers barely close around it in time. It's a chunk of bread, stale and hard but real food. The gesture is so unexpected that you nearly cry. You didn't realize how close to tears you've been all day until this small kindness threatens to break through your defenses. You nod your thanks to the worker, who's already moving on, probably doesn't even see your gesture. You bite into the bread immediately, too hungry to save it. It's tough as leather and tastes like cardboard, but it's the best thing you've ever eaten. Your stomach clenches around it gratefully. The food hits your system and provides a tiny surge of energy. Not much, but enough to keep you moving for another hour. Your feet have progressed beyond pain into something more alarming. You can't feel them at all now. When you look down, you're walking with a strange, stiff gait, like your feet are blocks of wood attached to your legs. The blisters have definitely burst and probably mixed with the wetness in your boots to create a kind of fluid that you're sloshing around in. The thought makes you queasy. Your feet are basically marinating in infection. When you finally take your boots off tonight, assuming you can get them off, you're going to find something horrifying. But that's future you's problem. Present you just needs to keep standing, keep moving, keep sweeping these endless streets. A group of well-dressed people walk past, laughing about something. Their cheeks are rosy from champagne and good meals. Their clothes are clean and pressed. They smell like perfume and tobacco. They're heading to the theatre or a dinner party or some other entertainment that exists in a world you can barely imagine. One of them glances at you, and for a split second, your eyes meet. You see yourself through their eyes, a bent, filthy creature barely recognizable as human. A piece of street furniture, an object to be avoided. Then they look away, their attention already elsewhere, and you cease to exist for them. You're nothing. You're nobody. You're part of the scenery of their comfortable lives, as significant as a lamppost or a postbox. The winter darkness comes early. By 5 o'clock it's getting dim. By 6, It's fully dark except for the gas lamps casting their yellow pools on the frozen streets. Working in the dark is even worse than working in daylight. You can't see what you're sweeping. You just push the broom around blindly, hoping you're actually accomplishing something. The darkness hides hazards too. You trip over raised cobblestones you didn't see. You step in holes filled with ice water that soaks through to your already wet feet. You nearly walk into a lamppost because you're too tired to pay attention to where you're going. 7 o'clock arrives, and you're not sure you're going to make it the last hour. Your body is shutting down. You can feel it happening. Your legs are buckling randomly, giving out without warning and nearly dropping you to the ground. Your vision is darkening at the edges, tunneling down to a small circle of clarity that keeps shrinking. Your hands have lost all coordination. You drop the broom twice in 10 minutes, your numb fingers just opening randomly. Each time you have to bend to pick it up, and each time you're not sure you'll be able to straighten again. Your back is locked in its hunched position. You might actually be stuck like this permanently. You're leaning on the broom, swaying slightly, when you hear someone approach. It's another street sweeper, an older man you recognize from the boarding house. He looks at you with concern, actual human concern, the first you've seen all day. He asks if you're all right. The question is so unexpected that you can't answer for a moment. Your throat closes up. When you finally speak, your voice is shaking. You tell him you're fine. He doesn't believe you. He says you look like you're about to drop. He offers to sweep your last section so you can finish early. The offer is staggering. It means he'll work extra unpaid just to help you. Kindness like this doesn't exist in your world. You refuse at first, too proud or too stubborn or too conditioned to accept help. He insists. Finally, you accept, too tired to argue anymore. You hand him your broom, thank him in a voice barely above a whisper, and start walking home. It's only 7:30, but your shift is over. You're free. The relief is so intense it makes you dizzy. You've made it through another day. Barely, just barely. By your fingernails and your teeth and sheer stubbornness. But you've made it. Your body can stop now. Stop moving. Stop hurting. Well, not stop hurting. The hurting will continue for hours. But at least stop adding new hurts to the collection. The walk home takes forever. You have to rest every few minutes, leaning against walls, catching your breath. Your legs are trembling so badly you can barely walk. People flow around you, annoyed at this obstacle in their path. Someone tells you to move. You move. Someone else makes a comment about drunken beggars. You ignore it. You're beyond caring what anyone thinks. All you care about is getting home, getting horizontal, stopping. The boarding house stairs are impossible. You crawl up them on your hands and knees because your legs won't carry you anymore. Your knees protest every step, bruised and sore, but it's the only way. You make it to your floor, pull yourself upright using the banister, and lurch to your room. The door opens. The familiar smell of human habitation hits you. You stumble to your mattress and collapse onto it fully clothed, boots and all. Somewhere in the distance you hear someone complaining about the mud you're tracking in. You don't have the energy to care. You're unconscious before your head fully settles, dropping into a black, dreamless sleep like falling into a pit. The next morning, 4 o'clock comes again. Someone shakes you awake. Your body doesn't respond at first. You're so stiff and sore that moving seems impossible. Every muscle has seized up overnight. Your hands are swollen to twice their normal size, the blisters infected and angry. Your feet are a nightmare that you can't even look at. When you finally pull your boots off, the sight is horrifying. Blisters on top of blisters, some broken, some intact, all surrounded by red, inflamed skin. Your toes are purple from poor circulation. The smell is phenomenal. You stare at this disaster and wonder how you're supposed to put boots back on these feet and walk for another 16 hours. By the end of your first week, you've developed a shuffle that's barely recognizable as walking. Your feet have given up on normal movement. The blisters have merged into large, weeping areas that stick to your socks and peel away when you try to remove them. You've stopped taking your boots off at night, because getting them back on in the morning is too agonizing. You just sleep in your boots now, letting your feet stew in their own moisture and whatever infections are brewing in there. The smell has become something remarkable. Your roommates complain constantly. You don't blame them, but you're too tired to do anything about it. Your hands have developed thick calluses that crack and split at the edges. The cracks go deep enough that they should probably be stitched, but that's not happening. You just wrap them in strips of rag torn from your shirt and hope they don't get worse. They get worse. The cracks widen. The skin around them becomes red and hot. You're fighting off infection through sheer willpower because you can't afford to stop working. One day off means not making rent. Not making rent means the street. You've seen what happens to people who end up on the street. They don't last long. So you keep working despite hands that can barely grip the broom anymore. The weather turns properly cold in your second week. Snow starts falling, which the romantic part of you might have once found beautiful. That part is dead now. Snow means the streets become even more treacherous. The frozen horse droppings get buried under white powder, creating hidden obstacles that you trip over constantly. The snow mixes with the street muck to create a grey slush that soaks through everything. Your boots, already compromised, become completely waterlogged. Walking in them is like walking with buckets of ice water strapped to your feet. The cold is so intense that your bones ache with it. Deep, penetrating cold that no amount of movement can shake off. Frostbite claims 2 of your toes. You notice one morning that they're black, and you can't feel them at all. Not numb, completely absent of sensation. You wiggle them and watch them move, but feel nothing. This should be alarming. It probably is alarming. But you just stare at them for a moment, register the information, then put your boot back on and go to work. What else are you going to do? See a doctor? With what money? You've heard of people losing toes to frostbite. Apparently, they just fall off eventually. That seems like a problem for future you. Present you has streets to sweep. Your diet has become almost non-existent. You're spending so little on food that you're wasting away visibly. Your ribs show through your thin shirt. Your face has gone gaunt. Cheekbones sharp under skin that's taken on a greyish tinge. You're running on perhaps 500 calories a day, burning thousands. Your body is eating itself. Muscle disappears first, then fat, what little you had. You're nothing but skin and bone and stubborn refusal to quit. Other sweepers have noticed. The older man who helped you that one evening keeps slipping you bits of his own food. A crust here, a potato there. You accept gratefully, too hungry to be proud. The cold has brought a cough that won't go away. It starts as a tickle in your throat, easily ignored. Within days, it's a deep, rattling thing that shakes your whole body. You cough so hard you see stars. Your ribs ache from the force of it. Sometimes you cough up stuff that looks concerning, dark and thick, but you just spit it out and keep sweeping. Half the boarding house has this cough. It echoes through the building at night, a symphony of illness. People are taking bets on who'll go to the hospital first. You're determined it won't be you. Hospital means losing your job. Better to work yourself into the ground than end up in a hospital ward for the poor. Your supervisor has become almost sympathetic, which tells you how terrible you must look. He still yells, but there's less enthusiasm in it now. Sometimes he just looks at you and sighs, like he's watching a horse that's about to drop dead. but has to be worked until it does. He's seen countless sweepers come and go, seen them break down and disappear, replaced by fresh, desperate people. You're just another body in a long line of bodies. Nothing special, nothing worth caring about beyond your ability to clear streets. When you can't do that anymore, you'll be discarded and forgotten before the day is out. 3 weeks in, you start to understand why the average street sweeper doesn't last long in the job. It's not just the physical labor, it's the complete absence of hope. You wake up knowing today will be exactly like yesterday, tomorrow will be exactly like today. There's no possibility of improvement, no chance of advancement. You'll sweep streets until your body gives out, then you'll die, and someone else will take your broom, and the streets will keep needing sweeping forever. The futility of it sits on your chest like a weight. You're Sisyphus with a broom, eternally clearing streets that are never clean. The cold continues to deepen. January arrives with temperatures that freeze the Thames in places. You're working in conditions that would horrify modern workplace safety inspectors, exposed to sub-zero temperatures for 12 to 16 hours a day, inadequate clothing, no breaks except the brief lunch you can't afford to buy food for anymore, no protection from the elements. Your body temperature drops so low that you stop shivering. You've read somewhere that's a bad sign. That shivering is your body's way of keeping warm, and when you stop shivering it means your core temperature is dropping dangerously low. You make note of this information and keep sweeping because what alternative do you have? Your beard, which you haven't had the energy or means to shave in weeks, becomes encrusted with ice. Your breath freezes in it, building up until your whole lower face is covered in a mask of frost. It pulls at your skin when you try to move your jaw. Your eyebrows are white with frozen condensation. Your eyelashes stick together when you blink. You're slowly being encased in ice while still alive, like an insect preserved in amber, except you're still expected to work while it happens. The surreal horror of it would be funny if you had the energy to appreciate humor. You don't. You just exist in a state of perpetual misery that's become your entire world. Around mid-January, you start having fantasies about dying, not suicide. You're too tired even for that. Just gentle fantasies about lying down in the snow and not getting up, about closing your eyes and letting the cold take you. How peaceful it would be, how quiet. No more pain, no more exhaustion, no more endless streets and impossible work. Just silence and stillness and an end to the relentless grind of survival. You're not actively planning to do it, but the thought is there, comforting in its way, an exit route if things become truly unbearable. Knowing you could stop if you really needed to makes it possible to continue. Bizarre logic, but it works. February brings a thaw that should be a relief, but makes everything exponentially worse. The mountains of frozen waste that have been accumulating all winter start to melt. What was solid and manageable, relatively speaking, becomes liquid and foul beyond description. The streets turn into rivers of brown sludge that flows ankle-deep in places. The smell that was locked in by the cold releases all at once, an overwhelming stench that makes people gag as they hurry past with handkerchiefs pressed to their faces. You're wading through it for 12 hours a day. Your boots, already compromised, fill completely. You're essentially walking in buckets of liquid filth. The sensation is unspeakable. Cold, thick fluid squelching between your toes with every step. Things floating in your boots that you try not to think about. By midday, your feet are numb again, but this time from cold wetness rather than frozen dryness. The broom is useless in these conditions. You can't sweep liquid. You're just sort of pushing it around, creating waves that splash back over your legs. Your trousers are soaked to the knees. The fabric clings to your skin. heavy and reeking. When the liquid dries, it leaves a crusty residue that chafes with every movement. Your inner thighs are rubbed raw from the constant friction. Walking becomes a bow-legged waddle as you try to minimize the contact between your legs and the sodden fabric. You look ridiculous. You feel worse. Other sweepers are in the same state, all of you shuffling around like broken toys that someone wound up and forgot about. The supervisor rides past on his pony, which picks its way delicately through the muck and shouts at you for not making better progress. You stare at him with such profound exhaustion that you forget to look deferential. He mistakes your blank expression for insolence and launches into a tirade about respect and work ethic. His voice seems to come from very far away. You're aware of his mouth moving, aware of angry sounds emerging, but the words don't really penetrate. Your brain has entered a state of protective shutdown where nothing matters anymore. He could fire you right now and you're not sure you'd react. He eventually rides off, unsatisfied with your lack of response, but apparently unwilling to engage further with someone who looks like death warmed over. Around mid-morning, you're pushing sludge near a coaching inn when someone empties a bucket of kitchen waste from an upper window. You've got about 2 seconds of warning before a cascade of rotten vegetables, greasy water and meat scraps comes pouring down. Some of it catches your shoulder. The rest splashes into the street right in front of you, adding to the general awfulness. A potato peel lands on your head and slides down slowly. You reach up and pluck it off, look at it for a moment, then drop it into the street with the rest. Your capacity for disgust has been exhausted. Nothing surprises you anymore. Nothing shocks you. You're beyond such human reactions. The young man you met last week is working streets nearby. You see him occasionally, always looking progressively worse. The hope has drained from his face like water from a cracked cup. His clothes are filthy now. His hands are developing the same raw patches yours have. He's learning what this job really means. Last time you saw him, he tried to start a conversation, asking how long you've been doing this work. You told him 3 weeks. He looked stunned. Only 3 weeks and you look like this. You could see him doing the maths in his head, calculating his own deterioration. He stopped trying to chat now, saves his energy for survival like the rest of you. Your cough has progressed into something more sinister. Each breath rattles in your chest like marbles in a tin can. The effort of breathing and working simultaneously leaves you gasping. You have to stop frequently, bent over your broom, wheezing and hacking. Other workers give you a wide berth. Everyone knows a cough like this. It's the sound of lungs giving up, the sound of someone who'll be gone before summer. You're aware of this in a distant way, like knowing tomorrow will be Tuesday. Just a fact. Nothing emotional about it. If your lungs quit, they quit. You'll deal with it then. The thaw brings rats out in force. They've been living in the frozen waste all winter, and now they're everywhere. Huge ones, fat from feeding on the city's refuse. They splash through the sludge fearlessly, sometimes running right over your feet. You're too tired to jump or even flinch anymore. You just keep sweeping while rats flow around you like water around a stone. One of them pauses near your boot, standing on its hind legs to get a better look at you. Its eyes are bright and alert. It looks healthier than you do. Better fed, certainly. The thought makes you laugh, a single harsh sound that turns into another coughing fit. The rat scurries away, frightened by the noise. You spit into the street and get back to work. Lunch happens at some point. You've lost track of time. The church bells ring, but you can't remember which hour they're marking. You find a step that's relatively clean and sit down hard, your legs giving out the moment they're allowed to stop holding you up. Someone's left half a sausage roll on a windowsill. It's been there a while, birds have pecked at it, but it's food. You grab it before anyone else can and shove it in your mouth, chewing quickly. The pastry is stale and the filling tastes off, but calories are calories. Your stomach accepts it gratefully, cramping slightly around the sudden influx of food. Sitting is a mistake. You realize this the moment you try to stand again. Your body has stiffened in the 5 minutes of rest. Your knees don't want to bend. Your back refuses to straighten. You have to lever yourself up using your broom as a support, gasping with the effort. Every joint pops and cracks. Your spine feels like someone's poured concrete between the vertebrae. You stand there swaying for a moment, waiting for the dizziness to pass, then shuffle back to your section of street and stare at it with profound despair. It looks worse than when you left it. The sludge has redistributed itself. You've achieved nothing all morning. You start sweeping again anyway because there's nothing else to do. The afternoon brings a freezing rain that turns the thawing mess into an even more spectacular nightmare. Rain mixes with slush mixes, with waste creates a soup that defies description. It splashes up your entire body with every sweep. Your face is coated in it. It gets in your mouth no matter how tightly you press your lips together. The taste makes you retch, but there's nothing in your stomach to bring up. You just heave dryly a few times, then continue working. The rain soaks through your clothes in minutes. You're wet from head to toe, inside and out. Water runs down your back. Your shirt clings to your ribs. Your hair plasters to your skull. You're shivering violently again, teeth chattering so hard you're worried you'll crack them. A fine lady hurries past under an umbrella held by a servant. The servant is getting soaked while holding the umbrella over her. She stays dry and comfortable while another human being gets drenched for her convenience. She doesn't even acknowledge the servant's existence, just sweeps past in a rustle of dry skirts, while you and the servant exchange a brief look of shared misery. You're both just tools, objects to be used. The difference is the servant probably gets to go inside eventually. You're out here until 8 o'clock, regardless of weather. By early March, you've developed a tremor in your hands that never stops. Even when you're not working, your fingers shake constantly. It makes the simplest tasks difficult. Holding a cup, buttoning your shirt, gripping the broom. The tremor comes from exhaustion, malnutrition, and nerve damage, from months of repetitive strain and cold exposure. Your body is breaking down in increments. Each week brings some new malfunction. Your left knee clicks with every step now, a grinding sensation that suggests cartilage damage. Your right shoulder has developed a catch where something in the joint isn't moving smoothly anymore. You wake up every morning cataloguing new pains and dysfunctions like a shopkeeper taking inventory. The boarding house has become even more miserable with the warming weather. The smell that was suppressed by cold intensifies as temperatures rise. 30 people living in close quarters with minimal washing facilities creates an atmosphere that's nearly visible. The air is thick with human odors: sweat, feet, chamber pots, cooking smells, damp fabric. You can taste it on your tongue. Your room is particularly bad because nobody has the energy to maintain even basic cleanliness. The straw mattresses have gone from damp to actively mouldy. You can see green patches spreading across the fabric. Sleeping on them means breathing in spores all night. Your cough has friends now. All 6 roommates are hacking and wheezing in harmony. The chamber pot situation has reached crisis levels. It's supposed to be emptied daily, but everyone's too tired to carry it downstairs. It sits in the corner, full to the brim, adding its contribution to the general miasma. Sometimes in the night, someone adds to it, and it overflows slightly, liquid trickling across the floor. In the morning, You have to step carefully to avoid the puddle. The floor is stained dark from repeated incidents. The smell is eye-watering, but complaining would require energy nobody has. You've all silently agreed to just exist in this squalor until someone snaps and deals with it. That person won't be you. You're hanging on by your fingernails already. Your teeth have started to loosen. You noticed last week that one of your molars wiggles when you press it with your tongue. Now several teeth feel unstable. This is scurvy, probably. Lack of fresh vegetables and fruit means your gums are deteriorating. They bleed when you eat, which isn't often. Your mouth tastes like metal and rot constantly. Food that requires chewing is becoming difficult. You're limited to soft things. Bread soaked in water. Overcooked potatoes if you can afford them. The variety in your diet has gone from minimal to non-existent. Brown bread and occasionally an apple. That's it. That's your entire nutritional intake. Your body is desperately lacking in everything it needs to function. The streets are busier as better weather brings people out. More people means more traffic, which means more waste, which means more work. It's a cycle that never ends. You're clearing the same stretches of cobblestones you cleared yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. Nothing changes. Nothing improves. You're maintaining a level of barely acceptable filth, pushing the worst of it to the sides, so respectable people can walk through the middle. That's your entire purpose. You're a human broom, a biological street cleaning machine that's slowly falling apart from overuse. Around mid-March, something happens that nearly finishes you. You're bending to scrape up a particularly stubborn mess when your back goes. Not soreness, not stiffness. Something actually breaks inside. There's a sensation like a stick snapping, a bright white flash of pain that drives you to your knees. You kneel there on the wet cobblestones, unable to move, barely able to breathe. The pain is extraordinary. It radiates from your lower back down your legs and up your spine. Your muscles spasm violently, locking everything in place. You're frozen in a kneeling position, tears streaming down your face, trying not to scream. People flow around you. Nobody stops to help. A few glance at you with mild curiosity, then move on. You're just a street sweeper having some kind of episode. Not their concern, not their problem. You kneel there for what feels like hours but is probably 10 minutes, waiting for the initial agony to subside into something merely excruciating. Eventually you're able to move slightly. Breathing carefully, you lever yourself upright using your broom. The pain makes your vision go grey at the edges. You stand there swaying, wondering if you're about to pass out. You don't. Your body keeps functioning despite everything, stubborn and stupid and refusing to quit. Walking is nearly impossible now. Each step sends lightning bolts through your lower back. You're moving like someone 3 times your age, shuffling inches at a time. Bending is out of the question. You can't lean over anymore. You have to sweep from a nearly upright position, which is completely ineffective. You're basically just tickling the street with your broom. Nothing's actually being cleared. But you keep moving through the motions because stopping means acknowledging that you can't do this anymore. Stopping means the end. Your supervisor finds you around noon, barely mobile, accomplishing nothing. He takes one look at your grey face and rigid posture and makes a decision. You're done. He says it without particular cruelty, just stating a fact. You can't work like this. You're useless. Come by the office tomorrow for your final wages. Bring back the broom. That's it. After nearly 2 months of destroying yourself for this job, it ends with a 30-second conversation and a dismissal. You're discarded, used up, finished. The walk back to the boarding house takes over an hour. You have to rest every few minutes, leaning against walls, sometimes just sitting on the curb with your head in your hands. The pain is relentless. It doesn't ease or fade, it just throbs constantly, a deep ache that makes you want to curl into a ball and never move. You finally make it to your building and face the stairs with despair. 4 flights up, might as well be a mountain. You start climbing, one step at a time, pulling yourself up with the banister. By the time you reach your floor, you're sobbing with pain and effort. Not loud crying, just tears streaming silently down your face while you gasp for breath. Your roommates are gone, still at work. The room is empty and dim. You lower yourself onto your mattress with extreme care, lying flat on your back because it's the only position that doesn't make you scream. You stare at the ceiling, at the water stains and cracked plaster, and take stock of your situation. You're injured badly enough that you can't work. You have perhaps a few shillings in wages coming. After that, nothing. No income, no prospects, no savings. You can't pay rent, can't buy food, can't survive. The despair that settles over you is profound and complete. You've worked yourself to destruction and have nothing to show for it. No money saved, no skills gained, no improvement in your situation. You're worse off than when you started. Your body is damaged, possibly permanently. Your health is ruined. You're weaker, sicker, more desperate than you were 2 months ago. The streets have chewed you up and spat you out, and the city doesn't care. There are 100 other desperate people ready to take your place. More arriving every day. The machine doesn't stop for broken parts. The next morning, getting up is the hardest thing you've ever done. Your body has stiffened overnight into something barely human. You're locked in position, flat on your back, unable to sit up without using your arms to lever yourself upright. The pain when you move is stunning, fresh and sharp and all-consuming. You have to pause halfway through sitting up, frozen at an awkward angle, waiting for the worst of it to pass. Your roommates watch with a mixture of pity and relief. Pity because you're clearly in bad shape. Relief because it's you and not them. Not yet, anyway. They're all heading toward the same destination. You've just arrived first. The walk to the supervisor's office to collect your final wages takes most of the morning. You have to rest constantly. Your back won't support you for more than a few minutes at a time. You lean against buildings, sit on steps, stand hunched over, catching your breath. People avoid you carefully. You look like trouble, like disease, like something catching. You're bent nearly double now, unable to straighten at all. Your spine has locked into a permanent curve. Whether this is temporary or permanent, you don't know. Can't afford a doctor to find out. You'll either heal or you won't. That's the extent of your medical options. The supervisor's office is a small room near the depot where the sweepers get their brooms and assignments. You shuffle in to find him working through papers, not looking up. You clear your throat. He glances up, registers your presence without interest, and pulls out a small cloth bag. Your wages. He counts out coins onto the desk. 3 shillings and 6pence. For 2 months of work that's destroyed your body. Less than you'd make in a week if you were healthy enough to continue. But you were off for a day and a half, so that's been docked. Plus the cost of the broom, which you're keeping apparently, so that's been taken out. What remains is barely enough for a week's rent and a few meals. You take the coins without argument. No point complaining, no point explaining that the job itself caused your injury. He's heard it all before, seen hundreds of sweepers come and go, all with the same story. You're not special, not memorable, just another broken body discarded by the system. He's already looking back at his papers before you've left the room. You're dismissed in every sense of the word. You pocket the coins and begin the long, agonizing journey back to the boarding house, knowing these coins represent your last buffer between survival and complete destitution. Back in your room, you lie down and try to think through your options. They're depressingly limited. You're too injured for physical labor. Street sweeping was the bottom rung and you can't even do that anymore. You're not skilled in any trade, can't read or write well enough for clerical work. Even if you could, nobody would hire someone who looks like death and can barely stand upright. You're trapped, useless, finished at 24. The panic that rises in your chest is choked down through sheer force of will. Panicking doesn't help, doesn't change anything. You just have to deal with the reality in front of you. One of your roommates, a man who works at the docks, suggests you might try for charity. There are organizations that help the deserving poor. You'd need to prove you're worthy. Show that your poverty isn't your fault. Demonstrate good character. The thought of begging for charity, of submitting yourself to the judgment of respectable people who will examine your life and determine whether you deserve help, fills you with shame. But pride doesn't pay rent. Pride doesn't buy food. You swallow what remains of your dignity and ask where these charitable organizations meet. The Society for the Relief of Distressed Workers operates out of a church hall across the city. Getting there requires a walk that takes all afternoon. You shuffle through streets you used to sweep, seeing them from a new angle, from down here, from the level of the truly desperate. Other beggars and homeless people give you measuring looks. You're fresh meat, new to the streets, still have boots however terrible, still have clothes however filthy. You're a few weeks away from looking like them, maybe less. The thought should frighten you. Instead, you just feel tired, too exhausted for fear. The church hall is full of people in various states of desperation. Old men who work themselves to ruins, women with hollow eyes and hungry children, the sick, the injured, the unlucky. You join the queue, standing because sitting would mean getting back up again, and wait your turn. The queue moves slowly. The people ahead of you plead their cases to a panel of well-dressed individuals who listen with expressions ranging from sympathy to contempt. Some applicants are approved, most are turned away. Not deserving enough, not respectable enough, too dirty, too sick, too something. Your turn comes eventually. You shuffle forward to stand before the panel. They look you over with barely concealed distaste. A woman holds a handkerchief to her nose. You're aware that you reek. Months of street sweeping have soaked into your clothes, your skin, your hair. No amount of washing with cold water has removed it. You smell like the job that broke you. They ask what happened. You explain briefly. Street sweeper. Back injury. Can't work. The man in the middle, clearly the leader, asks why you chose such degrading work. As if you had choices. As if anyone chooses to sweep streets. You explain you needed wages. Any wages. He sniffs disapprovingly, asks if you drink. You say no, which is true because you can't afford to drink. He doesn't look convinced. The panel confers briefly in low voices. You stand there, swaying slightly, trying not to collapse. Your back is screaming from standing so long. Finally, they deliver their verdict. You're young and able-bodied, relatively speaking. You should find other employment. The injury is likely exaggerated. Many people work through minor discomfort. Have you tried simply working harder? Their rejection is delivered in tones of mild disappointment, as if your failure to thrive is a personal character flaw. You're dismissed, sent away with nothing except the clear understanding that you're not deserving of help, not respectable enough, not broken enough, not enough. The walk back is a blur. You're operating on autopilot, putting one foot in front of the other because stopping would mean lying down in the street. The humiliation of the rejection burns in your chest. The injustice of it. You destroyed your body working, and they've decided you're not deserving of help because you're young, because your injury isn't visible enough, because you smell bad and look disreputable. Never mind that the work made you this way. Never mind that you had no choice. You're being judged and found wanting by people who've never missed a meal in their lives. The first night on the streets teaches you things you never wanted to know. Where to sleep without getting robbed or beaten, how to curl up in doorways without blocking traffic, which alleys offer shelter from wind, how cold the ground is even through your blanket. You find a spot behind some rubbish bins in an alley off a main street. Not great, but hidden from immediate view. You spread your blanket on the cobblestones and lower yourself down with tremendous care. Lying on stone is agony for your back. Every angle is wrong. Every position presses on damaged nerves and muscles. You shift constantly, trying to find some arrangement that doesn't make you want to scream. You don't find it. Sleep comes in brief snatches, interrupted by cold, pain, and fear. Every sound jerks you awake, footsteps approaching, voices in the darkness, rats scuttling through the rubbish. You're vulnerable out here, alone. If someone decides to rob you, or worse, there's no help coming. Nobody cares what happens in alleys at night. You clutch your few possessions close and try to stay alert, but exhaustion eventually drags you under. You wake a few hours later, frozen and aching, to find a dog sniffing your feet. It loses interest and wanders off. You lie there watching the sky lighten, dreading the day ahead. Morning brings new humiliations. There's no place to wash, no facilities at all. You're just awake and filthy, and that's how you'll stay. Your clothes have gone from dirty to revolting. The fabric is stiff with accumulated grime. You can't remember the last time they were properly washed. Weeks, months, they're basically standing up on their own at this point. Your hair is matted and greasy, full of things you don't want to think about. Your beard has grown wild, untrimmed and tangled. You look exactly like what you are now, homeless, destitute, discarded. Food becomes your primary obsession. You're down to your last few pennies. Not enough for proper meals. You buy a stale roll from a bakery that sells yesterday's bread at a discount. The baker looks at you with suspicion, taking your coin quickly and handing over the bread like he's afraid you'll contaminate his shop. The roll is hard as a rock. You have to soak it in water from a public pump to soften it enough to eat. Even then, chewing hurts your loose teeth. You eat it anyway, forcing down every crumb because you don't know when you'll eat again. The pump is your new social centre. This is where the homeless gather, where everyone fills the containers, washes as best they can, exchanges information about where to find food or shelter. You're the newest addition to this community. Others assess you with knowing eyes. Still have your boots, so you're not completely destitute yet. Give it time. You'll be barefoot soon enough. An old woman tells you which churches give out soup on which days. A man with one leg advises you on which neighbourhoods to avoid. The police in those areas are brutal with beggars. You absorb this information gratefully. These are your people now. The bottom of the bottom. The forgotten and discarded. You spend your days walking despite the pain because moving helps you stay warm. Standing still in March is still cold enough to be dangerous. You drift through the city without purpose or direction, just existing, taking up space. You're invisible to respectable people. They look through you like you're made of glass. When you're forced to beg, asking for spare coins with your hand out, most people pretend they don't hear you. Some tell you to get a job, unaware that you've worked yourself into this state. Others cross the street to avoid coming near you. Your contamination, evidence that the system doesn't work for everyone. They'd rather not be reminded. Your back is not improving. If anything, it's getting worse. The constant sleeping on hard ground, the walking, the inability to rest properly, all compound the original injury. You're bent nearly horizontal now, looking at the world from a permanent crouch. Your spine feels wrong, misaligned, like the pieces don't fit together anymore. Sometimes your legs go numb for minutes at a time. Nerve damage, probably. You've heard of people becoming paralyzed from back injuries. Wonder if that's where you're heading, dragging yourself through the streets unable to walk. The thought is terrifying, but you push it away. Can't think about that, can only deal with today. You discover the world of charitable soup kitchens. Once a day, if you're lucky and time it right, you can get a bowl of thin soup and a piece of bread. The queues are long, hundreds of desperate people waiting for their one meal. The soup is mostly water with some vegetables floating in it, maybe a bit of barley if you're fortunate. It's hot, which is the main thing. The warmth going down feels like luxury. You cradle the bowl in your hands, absorbing the heat through your palms, making it last as long as possible. The bread is grey and tough, but it's calories. You eat slowly, chewing thoroughly, trying to make your stomach believe it's had more food than it has. The soup kitchen is run by a religious organisation. Before you eat, you have to sit through a sermon. The preacher talks about sin and redemption, about how poverty is often the result of moral failing, how honest work is always available for those willing to do it. You sit there, bent over in your pew, and listen to this comfortable man explain poverty to people who are living it. He's never missed a meal, never slept in an alley, never worked a job that destroyed his body. But he's certain he understands your situation better than you do. You're poor because you're lazy, because you drink, because you lack moral fibre. The unfairness of it makes you want to laugh or cry. You're too tired for either. You just sit there until it's over, and you can get your soup. Around mid-April, you realise you're getting sicker. The cough that never went away has intensified. You're bringing up dark, worrying stuff regularly now. Your chest hurts constantly, a deep ache that makes breathing difficult. You're feverish too, hot and cold at the same time, sweating even when you're shivering. This is something serious. Pneumonia probably, or consumption. Both are death sentences for someone in your position. No medicine, no warm bed to recover in, no food to build your strength. You're going to die in an alley somewhere. Soon, probably. The knowledge sits in your mind like a stone, heavy but somehow not as frightening as it should be. Death would be a relief at this point, an end to the constant pain and hunger and cold. You're sitting against a wall one afternoon, too weak to walk anymore, when a woman approaches. She's dressed respectably, but not richly. Middle class, probably. She looks at you with something like compassion and asks if you're all right. The question is so unexpected that you can't answer at first. Nobody's asked if you're all right in months. You're furniture, street debris. People don't engage with you as a human. Her kindness breaks something inside you. You try to answer and find you're crying. Not dignified tears. Messy, snotty sobbing that you can't control. She sits down next to you, not seeming to care about her clean dress touching the filthy ground, and waits until you can speak. The shelter is a converted warehouse on the edge of the city. From the outside, it looks grim. Brick walls stained with soot, small windows covered with grime, but inside is warm. That's the first thing you notice. Actual warmth. There's a stove burning in the main room. The heat hits you like a physical embrace. You stand just inside the doorway, swaying slightly, feeling warmth seep into your frozen bones for the first time in months. It's so overwhelming you start shaking. Your body doesn't know how to process this. Warmth has become a foreign concept. The woman who runs the shelter is stern-faced and practical. No nonsense about her. She looks you over with the assessment of someone who's seen everything, notes your bent posture, your hollow cheeks, your wheezing breath, asks a few brief questions. Name, age, trade. You answer in a voice gone hoarse from coughing. She nods, writes something in a ledger, and tells you the rules. No drinking, no fighting. Attend services daily. Work if you're capable. Stay clean. Follow instructions. Break the rules and you're out immediately. No second chances. You agree to everything. Would agree to anything for that warmth. She leads you to a washing area. There's a large tub of heated water. Actual hot water. Soap that smells clean. She leaves you to it, pointing out a pile of donated clothes in the corner. You're to wash thoroughly and change into clean garments. Your current clothes will be burned. You're not to object. They're beyond saving anyway. She leaves, closing the door behind her. You stand there staring at the tub of steaming water like it's a miracle, which, in your current state, it is. Getting undressed is agonizing. Your clothes have essentially fused to your body. The fabric pulls at your skin where sores have wept and dried, sticking to the wounds. You have to peel your shirt off slowly, gasping as it separates from your back. Your trousers are even worse. The fabric has chafed your legs raw in places. When you finally stand naked, you're confronted with the full reality of what's happened to your body. You're skeletal, ribs showing clearly, hip bones jutting out. Your skin is mottled with bruises in various stages of healing. Sores and rashes cover your torso. Your feet are a nightmare of broken blisters and infected tissue. The 2 toes you lost to frostbite are black stubs. You look like something from a medical textbook on starvation. Lowering yourself into the hot water is transcendent. The heat envelops you completely. You gasp at the initial shock, then sink deeper, letting it cover your shoulders. The warmth penetrates your muscles, easing some of the constant tension. You sit there for long minutes, just existing in the sensation. Then you begin to wash. The soap is harsh, but effective. You scrub at months of accumulated filth. The water around you turns grey, then brown, then nearly black. You have to drain and refill it twice before the water stays relatively clear. Your skin emerges from under the grime several shades lighter than you remembered. Raw and red from scrubbing, but clean. Washing your hair takes forever. It's so matted and tangled that you wonder if you'll need to shave it off. The soap helps. You work your fingers through slowly, pulling out debris. Things fall into the water that you don't examine closely. Eventually your hair starts to feel like hair again, instead of a solid mass. You rinse repeatedly until the water runs clear. The process is exhausting. Just bathing has used up what little energy you had. You climb out slowly, dry yourself with a rough towel, and examine the donated clothes. There's a shirt, trousers, and a jacket, all worn but clean. The shirt is too large, hanging off your skeletal frame, but it's whole and doesn't smell. The trousers you have to hold up with a piece of rope because your waist has shrunk so much. The jacket is thick wool, patches on the elbows but serviceable. You pull on these clean clothes and feel almost human again, almost respectable. There are even socks, thick knitted ones that cushion your ruined feet. No boots, you'll have to keep your old ones, but clean socks make even those bearable. You emerge from the washing room to find the stern woman waiting. She takes in your transformed appearance with a slight nod of approval. You're still bent and too thin and obviously sick, but at least you're clean. She leads you to a dormitory. Rows of simple beds with thin mattresses and blankets. Each bed has a small trunk at its foot for personal belongings. You have no belongings anymore, but the trunk is there anyway. She shows you to a bed near the window. This is yours. You're to keep your area clean. Bed made, floor swept. She'll expect you at supper in an hour. Then evening services. Then bed. Tomorrow you'll see the medical volunteer who comes twice a week. Left alone, you sit on the edge of your bed and try to process this change in circumstances. Yesterday, you were dying in an alley. Today you're inside, clean, warm, with a bed and blankets and the promise of food. The shift is so extreme it doesn't feel real. You lie back carefully, testing the mattress. It's thin and hard, but compared to cobblestones, it's luxury. The pillow is flat, but it's a pillow. You have a blanket that's yours. Nobody's going to steal it. Nobody's going to kick you out at dawn. You're allowed to be here. Expected to be here. The relief is so intense it hurts. Supper is soup again, but this soup has actual substance. Vegetables, bits of meat, thick broth. There's bread too and cheese. You sit at a long table with other residents, all people recovering from various disasters. The man next to you is missing his right arm. Industrial accident. The woman across lost her job and her home when her husband died. Everyone here has a story of how the city chewed them up. Nobody asks yours. There's an understanding that you don't pry. You all eat in relative silence, focused on the food. You eat slowly, aware that your stomach has shrunk. Too much too fast will make you sick, but the food is good, and there's enough of it. You clean your bowl and feel satisfied for the first time in months. Evening services are held in a small chapel. Everyone files in and sits on wooden benches. The preacher here is different from the soup kitchen one. He doesn't lecture about moral failing, doesn't blame you for your poverty. Instead, he talks about dignity, about how every person has worth regardless of circumstances, about how work should sustain life, not destroy it. You listen, actually listen, because his words don't feel like condemnation. They feel like recognition, like he sees you as human. When he leads prayers, you bow your head and feel something like hope flicker weakly in your chest. Back in the dormitory, you prepare for bed. The routine is strange after months of chaos. Washing your face, changing into a nightshirt provided by the shelter, climbing into an actual bed, lying down on a mattress instead of stone. The other residents move through their own routines quietly. Some read from battered books. Others just lie down and stare at the ceiling. Everyone seems wrapped in their own thoughts. You pull the blanket up and lie flat on your back, the only position that doesn't make your spine scream. Morning brings a wake-up bell at 6, not as early as your street-sweeping days, but early enough. You wake disoriented, not remembering where you are for a panicked moment. Then reality settles. The shelter. You're inside. Safe. The relief makes you dizzy. Other residents are stirring, getting dressed, making their beds. You follow their lead, moving slowly because your back is rigid from lying flat all night. Making the bed with military corners is beyond you in your current state. You just straighten the blanket as best you can and hope it's acceptable. Breakfast is porridge and weak tea. The porridge is plain but hot and filling. You eat sitting at the same long table as last night, surrounded by damaged people trying to survive another day. The tea is mostly water, but it's warm going down. Your throat is raw from coughing all night. The warmth helps slightly. After breakfast, everyone is assigned tasks based on their abilities. The able-bodied do heavy work, laundry, hauling coal, cleaning. Those less capable do lighter tasks, folding clothes, peeling vegetables. Some, too injured or sick to work, are excused temporarily. You're in this last category. Too bent to be useful, too weak to sustain effort. You're told to rest. The medical volunteer will see you later. Resting feels wrong after months of constant movement. You're not used to stillness, to having permission to do nothing. You sit in the common room where a small collection of battered books provides entertainment for residents. You can't read well enough to make sense of most of them. Your education ended early when you needed to work. But there are some with pictures, medical diagrams, religious illustrations. You page through them slowly, not really seeing the images, just having something to do with your hands. The medical volunteer arrives mid-morning. He's a retired physician doing charity work, old and shaky himself, but still knowledgeable. He examines you in a small room set aside for medical purposes, tells you to remove your shirt and sit up straight. You explain you can't sit up straight, haven't been able to for weeks. He makes thoughtful noises and begins his examination. His hands are gentle as he presses along your spine. You wince and gasp at certain spots. He asks questions about the injury, when it happened, what you felt, what makes it worse. You answer as best you can. His diagnosis is grim. You've damaged the discs in your lower back, possibly ruptured one completely. The constant work after the initial injury made everything worse. You've also got muscle damage, nerve compression, and inflammation throughout the area. In a wealthy patient, he'd recommend complete bed rest for months, hot baths, massage, possibly a surgical consultation, though back surgery is risky. For you, in your circumstances, he can offer little. Rest as much as possible. Apply heat when available. Avoid heavy lifting permanently. The damage is likely permanent. You'll probably never stand fully upright again. The pain may ease with time, but probably won't disappear completely. You absorb this information with a strange numbness. You'd already suspected as much. Having it confirmed doesn't make it worse, just makes it real. You're permanently damaged at 24. Your working life is essentially over. What can you do bent nearly double? What employer would hire someone so visibly broken? The physician sees the despair on your face. He says gently that you're alive. That matters. Many in your position aren't. You've survived something that kills people regularly. That takes strength. Find work you can do sitting or bent over. Mending clothes, sorting rags. Something that doesn't require a straight spine. You'll adapt. Humans are remarkably adaptable. He also examines your chest, listening with his instrument. The cough concerns him more immediately than your back. Your lungs sound terrible, rattling and wheezing. Fluid in them, definitely. Could be pneumonia. Could be the early stages of consumption. Hard to tell without time and observation. He gives you some medicine, a brown syrup that tastes vile. Take a spoonful 3 times daily. Rest. Stay warm. Eat as much as you're able. Your body needs to rebuild. He can't promise you'll recover fully. Lung conditions and your circumstances often prove fatal. But you have a chance here. Take it seriously. You're excused from all work duties for at least 2 weeks, longer if needed. Your only job is to rest and recover, to attend meals and services, to take your medicine, to sleep. You return to the dormitory feeling disconnected from your body. You're a broken machine undergoing repairs. Whether the repairs will work remains to be seen. You lie down on your bed even though it's mid-morning. Your body is grateful for the horizontal position. Your back stops screaming quite so loudly. You pull the blanket over yourself and close your eyes. The days blur together into a routine of eating, sleeping, and taking medicine. The syrup tastes like burned sugar and makes you queasy, but you force it down because the alternative is drowning in your own lungs. Slowly, very slowly, you begin to improve. The fever breaks after about a week. You wake one morning without the feverish heat that's been constant. Your head feels clearer. The cough is still there, but less intense. You're bringing up less concerning material. Your body is fighting back, finally given the resources it needs to heal. The food helps most of all. 3 meals a day. Not fancy meals, but consistent ones. Porridge for breakfast, soup and bread for lunch, stew with vegetables for supper. Your body responds to the steady fuel. Your stomach stops cramping with constant hunger. Your hands stop shaking quite so badly. The tremor is still there, but less pronounced. Some meat returns to your bones. Not much. You're still skeletal. But the hollows in your cheeks fill slightly. Your ribs become less prominent. You're rebuilding, increment by increment. Your back doesn't improve. The physician was right about that. The bent posture is permanent. You've adjusted to seeing the world from this angle, to turning your whole body to look at things instead of just your head, to the constant low-level pain that's become your baseline. You learn to move carefully, to avoid sudden twists, to sit with support for your lower back, to sleep in positions that minimize the grinding sensation in your spine. It's your new normal. Not good, but manageable. After 3 weeks, you're well enough to work. Light duties only. You're assigned to the sorting room where donated clothes are examined, mended if possible, and distributed to residents or sold to rag dealers if beyond repair. It's sitting work. You perch on a stool, bent over a table, examining garments for holes and wear. It's tedious, but undemanding. Your hands can manage it. The bent position actually works in your favor, since you're looking down at the table anyway. You work slowly, but steadily. The supervisor seems satisfied with your efforts. The work gives you purpose beyond mere survival. You're contributing, earning your place. The shelter operates on the principle that those who can work should. Those who can't are supported by those who can. It's a community of broken people holding each other up. You're part of something. After months of isolation and invisibility, belonging to even this desperate community feels significant. You eat meals with the same people every day, nod greetings, share small bits of conversation. Nothing deep, nobody pries, but there's camaraderie and shared hardship. By late May, you've settled into the shelter's rhythm completely. Wake at 6, breakfast at 6:30, work from 7 to noon, lunch, more work from 1 to 4, supper at 6, services at 7, bed by 9. The routine is comforting after months of chaos. Knowing what comes next, having structure. Your body is stabilized at a new baseline. Still damaged, but functional within limits. The cough lingers, but doesn't worsen. You're producing less concerning material. The physician is cautiously optimistic that you've avoided consumption. Might just be chronic inflammation from months of breathing street filth. Either way, you're alive. Not healthy, but alive. Your work in the sorting room has made you valuable. You've developed an eye for what can be salvaged, which garments can be mended, which are only good for rags. The supervisor appreciates your careful assessment, doesn't have to check your work anymore, trusts your judgment. It's a small thing but significant, being trusted, being competent at something. You'd forgotten what that felt like. The street sweeping was just endurance, no skill involved. This requires thought, decision-making. You have value beyond your ability to suffer. The shelter has its own small community dynamics. Alliances form. Friendships develop between people thrown together by circumstance. You've become friendly with the man who lost his arm. His name is Thomas, former factory worker. Got his arm caught in machinery when he was exhausted from a double shift. The factory discarded him immediately. No compensation. No care. just ejected like broken equipment. He's learning to manage one-handed, does laundry duty, has figured out how to wring out clothes by pinning them and twisting, refuses to be defeated by his circumstances. Thomas tells you about a factory that hires injured workers for sedentary tasks, watching machines, quality inspection, things that don't require physical strength. The pay is terrible, the conditions aren't great, but it's employment, real employment, not charity. You file this information away carefully. You can't stay at the shelter forever. It's meant to be temporary, a place to recover and then move on. Some residents have been here for months, even years, but they're the exceptions, the truly incapable. Most stay a few months, then transition back to independence. That needs to be your goal too. The thought of leaving terrifies you. The shelter is safe, known. The outside world broke you once already. Why wouldn't it do so again? But you can't hide here forever. You're young, relatively capable now that you've healed somewhat. You're taking a bed that someone more desperate might need. The guilt of that sits heavily. Plus, the shelter has its limits. It's crowded. Resources are stretched. The food is adequate but boring. Privacy is non-existent. You share a dormitory with 20 other men. There's nowhere to be alone. Nowhere to process your thoughts without witnesses. It's a blessed refuge, but also a cage of sorts. You start planning your next step. Save every penny from the small wages you earn for your work. The shelter pays a tiny amount to working residents. Not much, but it accumulates slowly. You'll need first week's rent somewhere, money for food until your first factory pay packet, work clothes. You calculate carefully. At your current rate, you'll need about 3 months to save enough. That gives you a target, a timeline. By late summer, you'll leave, ready or not. The physician continues his visits twice weekly, checks your lungs, listens to your chest, pronounces you improved, not cured, but stable. You'll always have weakness there. Be susceptible to chest infections. Need to avoid cold and damp as much as possible, as if you have a choice. But his assessment is positive enough that you're taken off the medicine. The vile syrup disappears from your routine. You're graduated to maintaining rather than recovering. It feels like a milestone. Your back remains your biggest limitation. The physician tries some manipulations, gentle pressing and stretching that makes you gasp. He's trying to improve your mobility, give you a few more degrees of straightness. It helps marginally. You can stand slightly more upright than before. Not normal, but less grotesque. You'll never be mistaken for able-bodied, but you might pass as someone with merely bad posture rather than serious injury. It's something. In your world, small improvements matter enormously. June brings warm weather that makes the shelter stifling. Too many bodies in too little space with inadequate ventilation. The dormitory at night is sweltering. Bodies packed close together generating heat. The smell of 20 sleeping men in summer is spectacular. You lie awake, sweating, missing the cold months when at least you could burrow under blankets. Now there's no escape from the heat. The single window barely helps. You and your dormitory mates take turns sitting near it, catching whatever faint breeze makes it through. Sleep comes in fits. Everyone's irritable from heat and lack of rest. The warm weather also brings illness. Some kind of stomach complaint sweeps through the shelter. People are violently sick for days. The privies are in constant use. The smell becomes unbearable. You're lucky enough to avoid the worst of it. Just some queasiness and loose bowels for a few days. Others are bedridden for a week. The shelter's small medical room overflows. Residents are sick in buckets beside their beds. The stern woman runs herself ragged trying to keep up with laundry and basic care. Everyone who can work does double duty. You're in the sorting room for longer hours, covering for those who are ill. You don't mind. Staying busy helps time pass. By mid-June, the illness passes. The shelter returns to its normal operation. Your savings have grown to a respectable amount. Not enough yet, but getting there. Thomas tells you he's heard the factory is hiring, the one he mentioned that takes damaged workers. You should apply before they fill all positions. The thought makes your stomach clench with anxiety. Applying means facing rejection again. Means putting yourself forward and risking being found wanting. But you can't stay here forever. You need to try. The factory is a long walk across the city. You set out early one morning, dressed in your donated clothes, trying to look employable. The walk takes over 2 hours because you have to rest frequently. Your back can't sustain continuous walking anymore. You stop every 20 minutes to lean against walls and let the worst pain ease. People stare at your bent posture. Some look away quickly, uncomfortable with visible disability. Others stare openly, curious or disgusted. You ignore them all. Focus on getting there, on making your case. The factory is enormous. Multiple buildings belching smoke. The noise is incredible even from outside. Machinery clanging and hissing. Workers streaming in and out. You find the hiring office and join a queue of people seeking work. Most look desperate. All look poor. You're not special here, just another body hoping to be useful enough to employ. The queue moves slowly. People ahead of you are interviewed briefly, then dismissed. Occasionally someone is told to report tomorrow. Most leave empty-handed. Your turn comes. The hiring manager looks you over with barely concealed skepticism, takes in your bent posture, your thin frame, your obvious damage, asks what happened. You explain briefly. Street sweeper, back injury, can't do heavy work but can manage seated tasks. He's doubtful. Why should he hire someone so obviously broken? You need this job desperately, but you're not sure how to convince him. You're not good at selling yourself. Never had to be. Work found you before, usually through desperation rather than choice. Your first day at the factory arrives with a mixture of terror and determination. You wake at 4:30 to allow time for the slow journey across the city. Your back is stiff from sleep, requiring careful stretching before you can even dress properly. The other residents are still sleeping as you slip out into the pre-dawn darkness. The streets are quiet this early. Just other workers making their way to various factories and workshops. You're part of the working world again. The thought steadies you as you shuffle through the gradually lightening streets. The factory gates open at 5:30. You arrive with 10 minutes to spare, joining a stream of workers flowing inside. Most are able-bodied, moving with the quick efficiency of people who do this daily. You're slower, more careful, but you're here. That's what matters. The hiring manager meets you at the entrance, shows you to your station. It's a tall stool beside a table where finished goods are placed after coming off the production line. Your job is to examine each piece for defects, cracks, misalignments, poor finishes. Reject the bad ones, stack the good ones. Simple work, but it requires attention. The noise inside the factory is overwhelming. Machinery pounds and hisses constantly. Workers shout to be heard over the racket. The air is thick with dust and smoke and heat. Within an hour, you're sweating through your shirt. Within 2 hours, your ears are ringing from the constant assault of sound. But you're sitting. Your back, while complaining, isn't being destroyed further. Your hands work steadily, picking up each piece, examining it carefully, making judgments. Some are obviously flawed, others require closer inspection. You develop a rhythm. Pick up, examine, sort, repeat. The first day is endless. Your concentration wavers as hours drag past. The heat builds to oppressive levels. You're dizzy from lack of food, having skipped breakfast to get here on time. Your vision blurs occasionally. You blink hard and force focus. Can't fail on day one. Have to prove you're capable. Lunch break comes at noon. 30 minutes. You've brought a piece of bread from the shelter. You eat it slowly, sitting on your stool because standing and sitting repeatedly is too painful. Other workers eat in groups, talking and laughing. You're separate, the damaged newcomer. They eye you with curiosity but don't approach. You don't mind, don't have energy for socializing anyway. The afternoon is worse than the morning. Your back has reached its limit with the prolonged sitting. The stool has no back support. You're holding yourself upright through pure muscle tension, which after hours becomes agony. Your shoulders burn. Your neck is locked solid. Your hands start to shake slightly from fatigue. You force them steady. Can't show weakness. Can't give them reason to dismiss you. You examine each piece with the same care as the morning, though it takes longer now. Your speed has decreased, but your accuracy remains high. Quality over quantity. That's what they want. That's what you provide. 6 o'clock finally arrives. End of shift. 12 hours of sustained concentration and pain. You climb down from your stool carefully, your body protesting every movement. The walk back to the shelter is torture. You have to stop every few minutes, leaning against walls, sometimes sitting on curbs with your head in your hands. The journey takes nearly 3 hours. By the time you reach the shelter, it's past 9. You've missed supper and services. The stern woman meets you with disapproval that softens when she sees your condition. You look demolished, grey-faced and trembling. She gets you some leftover bread and soup. You eat mechanically, too tired to taste it, then collapse into bed, fully clothed. Day 2 is somehow worse. You wake already exhausted. Your body hasn't recovered from yesterday. Your back has seized up overnight. Getting out of bed requires rolling onto your side and pushing yourself up with your arms. Walking to the factory feels impossible, but you do it anyway. You arrive on time. Take your position. Begin examining pieces with hands that shake constantly now. The supervisor notices, asks if you're all right. You nod. Just tired. First week adjusting. He looks skeptical but lets you continue. You make it through day 2 on pure stubbornness. Through day 3. Day 4. Each day is a battle against your body's limitations. By day 5, you've developed a system. Sleep with support under your lower back. Eat breakfast even though it means waking earlier. Take the journey in stages with planned rest stops. Arrive at the factory with just enough energy to work. Maintain focus through the shift. Make the journey back. Eat, sleep, repeat. It's sustainable barely. You're not thriving, but you're managing. The trial weekends. The supervisor examines your work. Your reject pile is accurate. You've caught defects others missed. Your accept pile has no flaws. Your speed is slower than an able-bodied worker, but your accuracy is better. He considers. Tells you you're hired permanently. 2 shillings per week. Paid Friday afternoons. Report Monday through Saturday. 6 in the morning until 6 at night. Sundays off. You thank him, relief flooding through you. You've done it. Proved yourself capable. You have employment. The first pay packet feels miraculous. 2 shillings in coins that are yours, earned through your labour. Not charity, not pity. Your own wages. You give the shelter 1 shilling for the week's food and bed. Keep 1 for savings. The shilling joins the others you've been accumulating. Your little pile of coins growing slowly. Each one represents survival, independence, future possibility. 4 weeks pass in a blur of work and exhaustion. Your body adapts as much as it's going to. You're perpetually tired, perpetually sore, but you're coping. The other factory workers have accepted your presence. Some nod greetings. Thomas visits once, checking how you're managing. Seems pleased you're still there. Many injured workers don't last past the first week. The work defeats them. But you're stubborn. You've survived worse. 12 hours of inspection work is awful, but it's not street sweeping. You're not freezing or starving. You're not being drenched in waste or sleeping in alleys. Perspective matters. By late July, you have enough saved. The stern woman helps you find a room, a boarding house on the factory side of the city. Smaller room this time, just 3 people sharing instead of 6. Marginally more privacy. Still basic, but that's fine. You're not expecting luxury. You pack your few possessions. Thank the shelter staff. The stern woman shakes your hand formally, tells you you've done well. Not everyone makes it out. You've earned this next step. Her approval means more than you'd expected. She's been witness to your recovery, your struggle. Her recognition feels like validation. The new room is tiny, a corner of a larger space partitioned off with thin walls. 3 mattresses on the floor, a small window, 1 shared chamber pot, but it's closer to the factory. The walk is only 40 minutes instead of nearly 3 hours. That extra time means more sleep, more recovery. Your roommates are factory workers too, older men worn down by decades of labour. They grunt greetings but largely ignore you. That's fine, you're not seeking friendship. Just a place to sleep that you're paying for yourself. Your new routine establishes itself. Wake at 5, walk to factory, work until 6, walk home, eat whatever cheap food you've managed to buy, sleep, repeat. Sundays you do laundry, mend clothes, buy supplies for the week, rest as much as possible. It's a narrow existence. Work and survival with nothing extra. No entertainment, no pleasure, no comfort. But it's yours. You're independent. Earning your keep. Not charity. Not discarded. A functioning member of society, however barely.